Hello, welcome to Practically Magic. This is take two. We forgot our microphones the first time, but I'm going to delete that. We're back. And you don't know that we messed up, but we're here now. Kind of in the sunshine. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the sunshine glow me right here.
Yeah.
I'm just getting over a cold, so I apologize for my voice already. I'll just say that right off the bat. But I am your host, healer, Courtney Pearl.
I'm Jamie Osbar, your crystal guide.
And we're going to talk about magic today. Are you ready for this? So I was in the crystal shop last week and I decided to go ahead and buy myself another deck because I just don't have enough, I guess. Sometimes there's just certain decks that call to you, though. When I saw this, and I do a lot of inner child healing. So this is the Healing the Inner Child Oracle, which I've seen other ones like that before. I mean, there's a lot of inner child oracle decks and stuff out there, but this one had such an amazing, colorful cover to it that I just was like, I have to have it.
Yeah.
I have to have it. So I bought this.
You and then another customer that day both bought decks in regards to the inner child or healing the inner child. I can't remember what the name of the other one was, but you were eyeballing that one. And then the customer came in and she bought it and you were like, dang it. But then you found this one.
This is the one I liked. The other one had different artwork and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw this and I was like, no, this is the one that was for me. It was meant for me.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to pull a card from this one today. And I actually did use it in my Healing Through Art workshop that night. I had all of the participants pull a card from this and then kind of do their healing inner child from whatever card that they pulled. So it ended up being kind of amazing. One of them was pulled the number 14. And I just asked her, I said, do you think maybe that has anything to do with your 14-year-old self? Not that it has to do with the number, but just it happened to work out that was what was needed for that session. So I said, let's bring your 14-year-old self in and work at that level.
Yeah. I'm really bummed I missed it.
Oh, don't
but,
worry.
You know, when
we've got
the funeral is happening, you don't kind of go.
Oh, wow. I pulled the first one, number 1.
That's a really cool card.
I know. Look at the colors. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it's so colorful, which falls right in line with prism healing and what the work I do with color. But I just...
It's on the moon or is it the sun? It's the moon, right?
You know, it's not totally
clear.
It's probably the moon.
I think it looks like the moon because it's darker, like around the outside of it.
Yeah.
So there's just like where the light is coming in is like the moon.
Yeah, I would probably say it's the moon, but it is kind of cool that it's not clear day or night. You know, this is so interesting. And again, synchronicities, right? Things that fall in line. But I was reading from The Great Work by Tiffany Lezik, one of my mentors. I was reading a chapter in her book that has to do with this time and cycle of this season. And it was a whole chapter about light. And I know how we've talked before about like, you are the light is a really powerful thing for you. And she kind of went into the whole E equals MC squared, quantum physics, what is light. She kind of goes into it in the chapter, which is so cool because marrying the science with the spiritual. But I love that she talked about, she goes into how there was a lot of argument with scientists for many decades and centuries of, is it a particle or is it a wave? Light. And then coming to the conclusion with recent equipment that they could measure it, they realized it's actually both.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's one of those things that's it kind of defies all logic, I guess, of what can be both particle and wave. And she kind of likens that to being both body and spirit. Of like, when we are light, it means we are both are sacred and holy, the heaven and the earth where they meet.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It has a lot to do with the kind of a lot of other spiritual schools of thought. You know, when I've studied Mary Magdalene's gospel, they talk about the new. She talks a lot about Jesus' teachings being all about how we as a body is just as sacred as the spirit, that we are not And even just in Buddhism, when you talk about heaven not being some place that you go after you die, but that heaven and hell are experienced as in your physical realm. I mean, it all kind of ties in. It's really interesting.
It makes sense. It's when I think people try to create that separation. It has to be this or it has to be that there's no gray area. And we kind of talked about this last week too. The balance is in that gray area.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of where we want to live. We don't want to live in the light all the time. We don't want to live in the dark all the time. We don't want to live on either side of where the pendulum swings. We want to live in the happy medium, the gray area. Yeah, it makes sense for us to be both. It makes sense for light to be both. And it makes sense for a lot of things to be more than one thing. That it can be something bigger and grander. I think
we're so much more than what we appear to be.
Yes.
So, and then she also talked about in that chapter, which goes perfectly with this card, is the time of year to engage with visual arts. And she has this whole chapter about, how art is healing, which I've done episodes before. So you can go back and look at what I do with healing through art. But it was so affirming because I was like, she's talking about healing the inner child with art. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I do. This is the work that I do. And she talked about bringing it back to awe, bringing it back to that child with a crayon box. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it. If you draw a squiggly purple line and you say it's a dragon picking daisies, that's an actual example from her book she wrote. I'll give her credit. But she said, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. Like, you don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't have to make it look like anything that anyone else would recognize. It is that because you represent it. You express yourself that way.
Created it.
Yeah. I love that.
I love that too, because just thinking about being in the crystal shop, a lot of times parents come in with their kids and it's very stressful for parents. It's very stressful. The first word in the mantra of the parent coming into the crystal shop is don't touch anything.
Yeah, I'm
don't
guilty.
touch anything.
I say it every time. Touch with your eyes.
Don't touch anything. Just look. But I love when kids come in the shop because of the awe.
Yes.
Their eyes light up. They get curious. They get, I don't know, just like they love it. And I love to watch them. And it is a little, things can break and things happen. But that's just the thing is things happen. And you can only do so much to prevent things from happening that are meant to happen. Because I've had crystals fall that nobody was touching. Right? Like it happens.
Yeah.
So you have to let it be what it is.
Yeah.
But I do. And that I love that you were talking about that. And like the healing through art is amazing. And I think it's great for kids, but it's also been really great for me. But to watch, especially in children, but it does happen with adults too, the awe. Being in this shop and watching people, kids, adults, whoever it is, and their eyes light up and you see it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just really, really cool. But yeah.
I totally know because my son has always been fascinated by rocks. Much to my
chagrin.
Is that the right word? Where it's like we would go on walks when he was 2 and 3 years old. I would take him on walks all the time. Every day we would take a walk. And we'd come back from the walk and I would go, oh, empty your pockets. And he'd just dump out all the rocks that he collected along the way because he would just see rocks. And I mean, they'd just be the landscaping rocks that you just see on paths or in people's yards or whatever. And he just would be in awe of these rocks. He would be like, but Mom, there's gold in it.
That's how cool it is.
Yeah. I mean, he'd see little flecks in it, whatever, and he would just obsess over it. And so I knew he would love crystals and geodes and things like that. He's always been just fascinated. We have a little mini museum in our house that I had to take over and organize for him because he's not organized at all. But I would be like, you're going to lose all these and you don't know what you have if you don't put them in some kind of order. But he has, I mean, nothing as much as this, but it would be there if he had money for sure.
Yeah.
He'd be buying all the rocks. He's always interested in, and he's a quick memorizer. So he knows the names of those rocks like immediately after hearing them.
So cool.
He has that kind of brain, which is amazing. He knew like all the dinosaurs' names. And when he was 2, he knew every construction equipment that ever existed, even though my husband and I don't know that. I don't know how he got to know all that, but he just picks that up. But that's the awe that for him in his little brain and how it works is that's the like, I love this so much. I'm going to learn every detail about it. I'm going to notice every little thing about it. So you probably see that with kids who come in. They don't just see them as rocks. Like,
Oh,
I think
no.
adults might get tainted over time and be like, okay, there's just a lot of really cool, colorful rocks.
Yeah.
But kids are like, look at this one. Look at the little crystals in it. Look at how it forms. Look at the colors.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I've had kids tell their parents, they'll be walking through and they're like, Mom, look at this. That's garnet. Oh, that's garnet. Oh, Mom, look at this. It's malachite. I've never heard of malachite before. You know what I mean? So you watch the kids then become the teacher to the parent.
Yes.
And they talk about like not just the rock itself, but what they like about it. And I love watching it and hearing it. And like the non-business part of me just wants to give these kids
Oh, I know.
so much and just be like,
Oh, yeah.
you love it so much. Here, take it. Just have it.
I know. It's meant for you. Well, you go out of business quick. But my son has tapped into that charm for sure because we've gone to festivals and crystal booths that are at certain things. And I'm always just so frustrated because I'm like, you don't have to give him anything. I understand he's cute and he's standing there with his little freckled face and his cute little red hair. And he just stands there and he looks at them and he goes, and he starts doing that. He starts naming all the crystals. So he's like, ooh, this is such and such. And this is so and so. And oh, I love this one. And almost inevitably he comes back.
He's got something.
He's got a bunch of free stuff that he like talked them into giving him or he charmed his way into getting. And I'll just go, oh my gosh, please don't do that. Don't manipulate people. I know you're cute and everything, but
well,
you can pay for it.
Do it
you have your allowance. I know, that's cute. But speaking of child, so I kind of wanted to look at where we have the theme this month in Back to Balance. And we've been talking about balance, which leads me to ask about the question of success. So I wonder, what is your relationship with success if you hear that word?
It's not a healthy one. I'll tell you that. It's a lot like a lot of things in life where it's this big thing, right? Success is like this big, to me, it's like this big unachievable thing, right? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Is it possible? I've never been able to think that I can achieve that, right? So it's kind of like a trigger word for me almost.
Oh, yeah.
Where success, because I don't even know how to define it. I don't even know what that looks like. And I feel like it's something that I will never have.
Yeah. Because again, it kind of goes back to that, what is our correlation between our expectations or our perfectionism? So success might, for you, you've got it so unattainable. It's always going to be out there, but never actually attainable, never actually something that you can achieve, which is interesting because as we're talking about inner child healing, that is where I go back to the age of 9. And it's interesting because 9, we know in a lot of like child development, it's kind of the age 8 to age 9 is the transfer to a different kind of cognitive thinking where they can be more abstract. They, that's when they start to understand, sarcasm, humor a little bit more because it's not as literal. It's where you can talk about metaphors and, they start to kind of understand that things are more abstract than just what you see or what you take on surface for face value. So it's developmentally, it's a pivotal age anyway. But in the work that I do, we learned that age 9 in the development of their chakras as they age, it's the time of life where you start to define success and failure. And for artists, it's interesting because it doesn't always have to go back to art, but it's the age they've determined most kids will determine whether or not they are good at art and will continue doing art or when they stop doing art.
Yep.
Right?
That was me.
Yeah.
Yep. 3rd grade.
Which again, how you see art is how you see life. I mean,
it's all connected. And we talked about my experience with my 3rd grade teacher when I was between that age. It's interesting that you say that because it clicked in my brain as you were talking about it. I was like, man, yeah. It's also the time in life as a member of the LDS church where you're being baptized. It's like this whole ceremony.
You're deemed old enough to
right.
Take that responsibility.
We'll get into that another time about an 8-year-old being able to basically give their soul to God and make an eternal promise that they'll live up to these expectations that are so unreasonable. But we've talked about it before. My baptism in the church was, to me, a failure. It was so traumatic. If you don't know how it works, you have a male that holds the priesthood, and they go through this whole prayer that they say. You have to hold your hand in a certain way, and you have to pinch your nose, and then they put you under the water. And every part of you, every hair, every part of you has to be submerged, right? I had to do it.
They kind of scare you, don't they? I mean, I don't know about you, but
it has
they were
to be
like,
perfect.
If we don't get it right, we have to do it again. And in the church, it's sort of a social, I don't know, it's sort of a social shame that is unspoken, but it's kind of like if you had to do it again, or if you mess up, things like that, there just feels like a sort of, I mean, everyone will tell you to your face, it's okay.
Oh, you finally got there.
There's something about it. Yeah.
Well, I had to do it 3 times. 3.
Oh, no.
So I didn't get a choice in who it was that baptized me. And then the person who did baptize me, I was uncomfortable with. And then he was hard of hearing. So 3 times. Yeah. It was.
Oh, no.
So that was it's interesting that we're talking about that age, and we, correlate that with failure and success, because in that time of my life, there are 2 very big events that happened with my childhood to me that defined how much of a failure I was. These are all things that are out of my control that were put upon me by adults that should have been caring and taking care of me. And they put me in a position where it was like, you're not good enough. And at that age, I was ready and willing to believe that.
Oh, yeah. Very receptive. Yeah. Which is interesting, too, because in the neuroscience, we know that by age 8, your brain is fully mapped. As far as all of the neurons are in place and mapped into how you've become you. Now, a lot of those neural pathways don't actually work that great, which is why we have trauma and triggers and difficulty adjusting and coping mechanisms that don't work and things like that. And we're in therapy and all the things. But I do think it's interesting because I agree with you. And it's kind of, it's interesting to watch how many clients that have come to me over the years for a healing session, and we do inner child work, and how many times the age of 8 or 9 comes up. Because if it's not the baptism itself at age 8, which is typically when you're baptized, I was baptized at age 9. So I'm like a convert.
Oh my God.
Oh no, I know. So sorry, I'll tell you. But yeah, the shame.
Shame of it. Oh.
You were
what was wrong with you?
I know. What's wrong with me? We were just waiting to have my grandparents there. Is all it was. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, it's interesting because if not age 8 when they have the baptism, it's age 9 when they start to feel that pressure of, I've already been baptized. I can't mess up now.
Right.
I've been wiped clean.
Whatever I did up to age 8, all of that was erased.
Yeah.
And now that I've been baptized, my slate is clean and I cannot dirty it.
So by 9, they realize I've already messed up because you can't be perfect. And I've already not listened to my parents at some point. I've already been punished for something.
Oh, is that a swirl? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which I was I was not a kid who did that kind of thing. I like you would laugh so hard at like the one time as a kid I did swear, and I was just like, I have to go pray.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I have to go pray right now. I have to go repent. I was taught there's a whole process I have to do now. But yeah, the pressure of that is basically, when looked at deep down, is I'm not good enough. And then there is a deciphering that happens with the way that our brain works, what we're experiencing at that age is I'm going to categorize what is success and what is failure. And I would bring up too that it also has to do with looking at the relationships that you have around you. So parents, if they're divorced or if they get along or what's going on there, 9-year-olds are looking to that as this is a successful relationship and this is not. And I do remember too, at probably exactly 9, I remember thinking about that. I remember being, and maybe I'm a little odd, I don't know, but I remember being in the car and I remember looking out the window and I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm ever going to find a guy that's as good as my dad. He's a really good guy. He's a good husband. There just aren't that many of them out there.
That's a
Why?
heavy thing to be thinking when you're 9 years old.
I know.
And I'll tell you what, I was on the opposite because my parents got divorced when I was 5. And it was not pretty. And there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of hatred. There was a lot of just a lot of negativity. And I remember thinking, well, there's got to be someone that's better than that, you know? But also
that deciphering that, like, this is a failure, this is a success, this is what I want, this is what I don't want.
I remember thinking, for whatever reason, I don't know what triggered this in my mind, but when I was a child, thought I wouldn't live to be 21 years old.
Huh.
So maybe we need to do a session to see if I can figure that out.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking that was going to be the year 2000. The year 2000 was when I turned 21.
Okay.
So I remember thinking like all of these ominous thoughts about I'm not going to live to be 21 years old. I'll never be a mom. I'll never get married. I'll never have all those things that we're taught to look forward to. Well, I mean, here I am, 46 years old, and I've got 3 beautiful children and a wonderful marriage. But something put that in my brain.
You're not alone. I mean, I've heard people say that before too. It's interesting you say this now that you bring it up. I remember thinking, and I wonder why. I need to do some processing too, because I'm thinking about it and I'm going, I remember as a kid, I did see myself, like growing older and having a family and stuff. I wanted all of those things. But I almost felt like, I don't know if I can put this into words. I was like, it'll be amazing if I make it.
Oh my God.
Like, as if surviving to that age would be
a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
that's a lot how I
like
felt
I'd be
too.
lucky to be a person who gets to have all that.
Yeah. That's
why.
I don't know. It's interesting that we both kind of had that same thought process, but neither one of us really knows why. And maybe it has something to do with what we were taught in the religion that we grew up in.
Maybe.
I'm not going to say
the second
for sure.
coming might be happening, or like it's always kind of doomsday.
Yeah, do you remember the whole
adjacent?
Y2K?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot.
Signs of the times. They talked about that a lot at church. And you're like, we have a lot of signs of the times that the second coming is going to happen in our generation, in our time. So I don't know. I didn't explicitly or consciously connect that when I was thinking those thoughts. I just remember thinking, like every age that I was as I got older, I'd be like, okay, I made it this far. Yeah. Isn't that a bizarre thing for a child to be thinking?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I turned 12.
I did it.
I got here.
Oh my gosh, I'm 13. I made it to be a teenager. Yeah,
I wonder if that's a universal thing or if that's
like
just us.
The whole sign of the times thing would make sense if we were thinking like the whole world was going to end.
Yeah.
But it was very much
specific
about me.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to live to be this. And then I had a patriarchal blessing. I don't remember what age I was, somewhere in my teens, like 13, 14, 15. Did you ever have a patriarchal blessing?
I did.
Mine was very ominous.
Oh, dear.
Very ominous. But it wasn't ominous until my mom read it.
Oh.
And then she read it, and it talked all about I was supposed to be the person in my family to do all of the genealogy. I was going to like learn about the whole ancestry of my families, and it's very complicated. Both sides of my family is very complicated. And I was like, that sounds really cool. And then my mom read it and she was like, oh, it doesn't say anything about you being a mother. It doesn't say anything about you and being being a mom. So she put that in my brain, and it solidified that whole I'm never going to be a mom.
Yeah.
I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to be married. My whole purpose on this earth is to do genealogy. You know what I said to myself? I said, fuck that. That's what I said.
know.
I was like, no, I never did it. I never did the genealogy.
Yeah.
Because
but here's what I think about that. Because I do think that there is some level of I don't think that a person called to this calling just has some divine miraculous ability to do it.
No.
But I do believe that there can be channeling of some kind that patriarchal blessings can access. And I'm of the belief that it's not all total bullshit, but it's like, take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
You put this guy in power of this and then, lived your life on it. So it does a lot of damage, especially in the church culture. But I will say, isn't it interesting genealogy came up, because I see that as what if it is like ancestral healing, generational healing and cycle breaking that you're meant to do. That even if you don't do your genealogy and you're like, no, okay, here's Aunt Betty or whatever. But it's like 4 generations past, we've carried all of this shame and we've passed it on, and it is connected to this or that or whatever. And you can just feel that in your body when you're doing healing work. And then you get to be like, I don't want it anymore. I know they didn't mean to pass it to me or wouldn't have wanted to pass it to me if they knew. So I want to release that and clear that. And that would be kind of powerful.
It is super powerful that you connected that right now, because that's what I've been talking about a lot with my healing journey. I talk about it with my husband. I talk about it with my daughter. I talk about it with my kids a lot of when I'm going into a healing session and I'm trying to heal me, my ancestors show up. And I know that I'm not just healing me. I'm healing lines back, as well as lines forward.
Yeah.
That's a really, really heavy burden to carry, but it's been so rewarding for me, and it feels like that was my calling. So when you're connecting that with this patriarchal blessing that has been so negative and so like
it could be interpreted.
And it does. It actually, I've never connected it that way, because what I do when I feel triggered, when I have trauma, is I block it. And I'm like, that's crap. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
But it actually makes sense to connect those.
Yeah. But again, it's all about how, like, what are you bringing into it? Like you keep saying the intention. What is the intention going into it? Because when your mom read it, she might have been coming to it with fear and like, oh, my daughter's never going to be a mom. Oh, all these things I wanted for her, it's not mentioning it. And she put a lot of stock, which is cultural. This is not just, placing a bunch of blame on mom, but it's a cultural thing in the church to be like, these things are, these patriarchal, what do they call them?
Patriarchal blessing.
Yeah, but the guys who do it, they're patriarchal.
I don't think they're patriarchal. They're
something
patriarch. No, I can't remember. There's somebody that holds the higher end of the.
They definitely are,
right?
Yes, yeah, they hold a calling. Is my point, and just because they've said all of these things, they're speaking for God. They have the calling to speak for God, which they give a lot of authority to, especially old white dudes in the church, and not so much to each an individual to have that power for themselves. I did get a patriarchal blessing. However, my experience of being raised in the church was a little bit more nuanced. I've talked about it before. My parents were not, as we Orthodox. And so some things were never explained to me like they are to most kids who are raised in the church. I had no idea what a patriarchal blessing was. I was raised in a church with that being talked about, not around me. And if it was mentioned, it wasn't mentioned, it wasn't in such a way that I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Either if they were talking about it like at church, I was so checked out of knowing what it was that I didn't notice.
Oh my gosh.
So here I'd gone through my teen years and see, and I don't even remember like my friends and young women's and stuff talking about it. They probably were getting theirs about that
you're
time.
not supposed to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to tell people what's in there.
Right.
Right?
Like, it's just for you.
Is just between you and God. And the man who gave you this blessing was the conduit. He's the one speaking for God. So this message coming from God is not something that you share with other people.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to share it with my mom.
Yeah.
Or if I had a present father, he actually probably would have been the one that gave me the patriarchal blessing. But that's for another day. So it is something that you don't go, oh, hey, Susie.
Yeah.
In Young Women's, I just got my patriarchal blessing. Do you want to hear what it said? And it's not something that you talk about. It's very, very personal. And now I understand it's not personal. It's shame. You don't talk about that with other people because you...
Maybe it's like if you talk about your wish, it will come true.
It's something like that. It's kind of how I remember feeling about it, right?
It's like you don't talk about it.
So then I wanted to tell everybody because I didn't want that shit to come true. I didn't want that to be my calling in life.
Yeah.
Was to do genealogy.
Be like, oh, so this guy told me.
So this guy over here tells me that my whole purpose of being on this earth is to do genealogy, to learn about my past. When even then I knew there was so much pain back there that I didn't want to know.
I know.
My dad was adopted, so I didn't even know who his true parents were. My grandpa, there was a whole thing about like his lineage coming over from, I think, from France. Like literally, I tried at one point because young women, you go to the genealogy library and
they train you early.
They're like, they're like, put in the name. Yes, put in the name, and you should find things. And I was like, I was not finding things, and I was like, I'm not doing this. That's too much work. And I don't really want to know. At that point in my life, I didn't want to know.
Yeah.
But I think thinking back now, I felt all the pain coming through the lines, and I wasn't in a place where I could process and feel that. So I just blocked it. And I was just like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But now I love that you actually said it that way because I'm doing it in my own way. I'm not doing it in the way that they taught me to do it. I am processing it. I'm doing the genealogy and I'm healing backwards, right? I actually had a conversation with my mom recently that was very emotional because she's on such a different spiritual path than I am that I didn't know how she would take it. That my grandma, her mom, is the one that shows up for me.
Mm-hmm.
She showed up in all of my healing sessions.
Yeah.
All of them. And it was very surprising to me because I didn't feel super connected to her on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
But she's showing up for me. She's supporting me. And so I wanted to tell my mom that. I wanted to be like, she's there. She loves me. She supports me and she sees what I'm doing. And I told my mom and it took a lot. Like I was just like so emotional. And she was like, thank you for sharing that with me. So it was good. But it was also like, I don't know, it means so much more to me. I can't expect it to mean that much to her. But and I think there might have even been a little bit of jealousy, right? That she shows up for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
in wanting that. It's interesting because my grandmother, who was very Mormon, more so than my parents or anything like that, it was my grandmother, my mom's mom, and she did genealogy for like all of her mission calls. Like, the elderly go on missions, and it was her genealogy was her mission call. So she was like spending all of her time in the libraries and the computers and the I don't even know what. And I remember doing those kinds of things in Young Women's, and it's interesting because at that time I was like you. I was like, ugh, boring.
Yeah.
What? I don't care. I don't want to do this. This looks like not fun at all. I have a cousin who's older than me, and he is a librarian, and he has done like extensive work in my dad's side of the family and their genealogy, and it's really cool to see now. But at the time, I was just like, why would you want to spend your time doing that? That sounds awful. But it's interesting that a lot of my friends that I've met at Nourishing Kin are people who have stepped away from the church or, found new spirituality. And they're more into genealogy now than they were when they were in the church because they're doing like ancestral healing.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at, if my ancestors left their homeland, they must have had a good reason. And I want to know why that is. And they go back and they find that reason and they go, okay, so there was famine at the time my ancestors left. There was oppression from usually England or the Holy Roman Empire or whatever, there was the Catholic Church, there was oppression of some kind, and they were forced to leave their homeland because, we're kind of talking about this in America at this time, is people don't leave their homeland readily. They're usually forced out for some reason. People in their indigenous cultures are very connected to the land. So to be driven out for some reason, there had to have been a reason. And some of that work is kind of looking at what were they going through? How can I have some understanding and sympathy for them?
Yeah.
And I've talked about ancestral healing before, where you don't have to actually have those records, know their names, birth dates, where they're from. If you can't have access to that, and a lot of people can't, it is just kind of the inner work.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel in my body that my ancestors participated in these traditional things, or, the way that we feel about drumming when we're drumming and you feel that ancestral call to your roots. It's like, you don't have to actually know their names and dates and records for people who are descendants of slavery, or, there's a million other reasons, adoption, why you don't have those records. But if you do the inner work, even just in meditation and connection with your ancestors, there can be a lot of powerful work in that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really interesting. And I just love that we're connecting it like that now, because it used to be such a negative thing for me. And to know it doesn't have to look the way that I was taught. It doesn't have to be me sitting at a computer looking at microfiche, or, yeah, all of the things that were just so frustrating and all the walls that I hit.
Yeah.
I'm able to make more progress with the healing work that I've been doing over the last couple of years, more than I was able to do sitting in one of those libraries. So
Yeah. I still think I probably wouldn't do well just sitting there scrolling through screens and looking at things.
no.
But it has been fun to engage with that, where we've done the ancestral altar at Thanksgiving. So our family kind of transmuted the meanings behind Thanksgiving into what is Samhain. Our traditional Samhain things we do at Thanksgiving. So we can still call it Thanksgiving and we can still have it, but it's not about oppression of indigenous cultures. And so we do an ancestor altar, and we invite every guest who's coming to our dinner to bring a picture and a story of an ancestor if they have access to that. So for my son, who is adopted, he has brought. Well, I've helped him kind of research his birth family's ancestral people and bring someone. So we just bring a little like black and white picture. We print it out and we make a little illuminary out of a white paper bag. We cut a hole and tape it on or glue it onto the paper bag, and then we have little battery tea lights. And so at dinner, before we have dinner, we say, "This is my ancestor so and so." And then anything we know about them, if we have any information, and then we light the tea light and put it in the bag, and everyone says, "Welcome, so-and-so."
Oh.
And my kids, like for us, we've used ancestors that are people we knew. So my kids, because I've mentioned on the podcast before, my husband has 3 siblings that passed. And they're my kids' aunts and uncles that they've never met. And so for us, it's like they get a connection to Uncle Sean. Who is Uncle Sean? That's Dad's brother. He grew up with them. And he might tell a funny story about him, or he might, just have something that connects the kids to him. And then we go, "Welcome, Uncle Sean," the candlelight in. And we set it all up in an altar while we're eating our feast. And it's been really cool. I learned this at Nourishing Kin, by the way. I'll give them credit. They taught us how to do this. But they, that connection to just somebody passed on, it's been powerful for them to know their names, what they went through, just ways that we can connect. When my kids are waving at us outside. Like, "Hi. Hi, kids."
Oh, I think that's beautiful. And, healing and going through this journey, I'm wanting to learn more about how to celebrate these holidays, these traditional holidays in a non-traditional way, in a way that's more meaningful, rather than Thanksgiving just getting together and eating a big feast of food and not really putting any
Celebrating our
meaning.
colonizers coming to
Yeah.
this land.
I never really looked at it like that. Like I never really put any meaning into it. I just use it
Yeah.
as an excuse
Just
to
Thanksgiving.
get
Just a
people
feast of
together.
thanks.
Yeah, to be together as a family. And same thing with Christmas, same thing with Easter. It's more of like those are the traditional days that are easy to say, this is when we get together as a family and this is when we have a meal together and these are the things that we do.
Yeah.
I never really put a lot of meaning into it. It was just more of like going through the motions. So I want to be more intentional and I want to start putting meaning behind that. And I want it to mean something that resonates with me. So then I can also teach my kids who are now adults
Yeah.
how to do better, right?
Yeah.
When you know
There's
better, you
other
do
things
better.
to think about or consider with that and connecting. Go play. Kids are getting wily out there taking pictures of us
You're
with
getting
a
a little
camera.
bored.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's so interesting, this conversation just like flowing with what we've brought in today, because we started out talking about achievement and success. So I do kind of want to ask, if you defined success, kind of like how we did in our Women, Wealth, and Woo cohort, we got to define wealth. We got to say, okay, what would wealth actually look like if I had it? What does it mean to me? I think you can do the same thing with success, in that, what would my life look like if I was successful, either in relationships, in career, or just in my own healing, my own journey? Because, and I'm gonna pull this to the crystal of the week that we're gonna talk about, is I'm reading a book called You Are a Badass. A lot of people have probably heard of it, but it's interesting because in each chapter she gives like, here's what you could do, here's some things that you can do. And at the end of each chapter, at the end of that list, is always love yourself. At the end of every chapter, it's like, and love yourself, because why not? And love yourself because that's where it starts. And love yourself because maybe that's where success can start.
Yeah.
And when you think of it that way, while it sounds simple, it does take some work, because we have been conditioned to not love ourselves in so many ways.
And taught it's selfish.
Or just to have that self-compassion, self-love. Because we've been taught in some way, shape, or form that beating ourselves up or having shame is how we change, is how we grow, is how we improve. It's like, find your flaws, find the ways you're not enough, and so that maybe you'll improve.
Yeah.
And it's such a lie.
It is. It's so counterproductive, because once you start down that road, once you start on that journey of where am I not good enough, that's where you stay.
Yeah.
And you can always find ways that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Or ways you can improve. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You should always want to do better. And
right.
I said earlier,
what if you can't? What if there's absolutely no way? We just a thought. What if there was absolutely no way to achieve what it is you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Until you believe you're enough.
Yeah.
Like, as you are.
That's a thing for sure. That's absolutely a thing.
It's possible because that's actually how it works.
You can block yourself from achieving things and from being successful because of your inner thoughts, your inner process of, I'm not good enough. I have to do this before I can do that. And we talked about that in the cohort too, where it's, once I have this much money, then I can do this.
Yeah.
Once I have this much money, then I can do that. And one of the most powerful things that I remember was Cambria asking me, we went on a trip to Vegas, right? And she was like, did you have to go into debt for that? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, would you have? And I was like, that's a really heavy question, because when I came back from that trip, I was like reset, re-energized, recharged. And I was like, I didn't realize how much I needed that trip.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything grand or crazy. It was like, we went down to Vegas, we stayed in Mesquite, We went to Vegas to a concert. We ate good food. We spent good time together, and we just were away from everything.
Right.
But it was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
And she's like, would you have gone into debt for that? And yes, I would have. We didn't need to.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know and how it healed me,
Yeah.
yes. So sometimes you have to give and take a little
Mm-hmm.
and not feel shame about it.
Right.
Right.
And remember, we talked about too in that conversation, if I knew I was going into debt, maybe I wouldn't have let myself relax and heal.
Right.
And that's another side of it too, is just, all right, if I agree, if I make that contract with myself that I need this is for my better good. This is for the long-term, bigger picture, better for everyone. I will be refreshed and reset and show love to myself if I take this trip and I enjoy it. So I am going to go into debt for it, like maybe possibly. I'm going to let myself go into debt for it because I know that the exchange is going to be so much greater. And then I'm going to have a contract with myself that I will not beat myself up and that I will allow myself the opportunity to actually be refreshed.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a whole other mindset, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy that you have to step back and actually have that inner dialogue with yourself going, I'm going into debt. I don't want to go into debt. I'm not going to feel shame about going into debt because I know this is what's going to come from it. That's crazy.
I know.
It's crazy that we do that to ourselves. But I love that book because everything we do, we should love ourselves through it. We
Yeah.
shouldn't have that horrible inner dialogue of, you're not worthy, you shouldn't be doing this, this is not worth it, you're not worth it. It's so easy to go into that downward spiral. How about we do it the opposite way and we say, you are worth it. You are worth everything.
Yeah. Getting your needs met, speaking your truth, finding a place where you belong in your community. I mean, you could go through the chakras and all of the affirmations associated with it, and it can bleed into, loving yourself can bleed into all of those, which is why the heart chakra is the central. It doesn't have a companion chakra or an opposite because it's the center and everything revolves around it. And it's so interesting as we're talking about success. If you think about love yourself, if that was your definition of success, it can be associated with my healing journey. If I love myself, if I can get to a point where I just love myself, that's pretty amazing. I might still mess up all over the place. I might still get triggered once in a while. I might still be doing that. But if I can love myself through it, check that box. Success. And if I think about relationships, a lot of times in relationships, we are hitting so much conflict in relationships because we're looking for the other person to validate that love that we ourselves cannot get for ourselves. So if we love ourselves in the relationship, so many other things can fall into place and become successful. Even if that other person in the relationship doesn't show up and behave exactly how we'd like them to, because that's a total illusion anyway. I don't know who thinks that this is like Twilight and all the men are Edward, because that doesn't exist and it's just not going to happen. But it's like, I can't get my partner to do everything I need him to do or meet all my needs. But if I love myself, I can meet all my own needs and this relationship can work. And then success in business, success in career, success in academia. Yeah. Every aspect of your life, loving yourself could be a really good start to bleed into all those other things. So rose quartz, love yourself.
Rose quartz is the crystal of the week. And
I'm going to show this one.
I'm always a little hesitant to talk to people about rose quartz because it's so common, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times people are looking for something that's uncommon or something that they haven't heard of or something different. And I definitely have those options too. But rose quartz, I've actually learned, is super, super powerful when it comes to self love. It helps us and it supports that chakra, that heart energy center in a way that I don't think anything else can. right? So I'm moving past these ideas that I give myself that I can't suggest rose quartz, I can't suggest amethyst, I can't suggest clear quartz because they're so common, but they definitely have their place and they're definitely still very powerful. And I myself have plenty of pieces of rose quartz. I love the heart shape just because it's pink.
Yes.
And it goes really well together. But just a quick story I want to share about how powerful rose quartz was for me. A couple years ago, my dog had a litter of puppies, and we had 8 surviving puppies. And I think it was about 3 days in, we had a puppy get her umbilical cord caught on a blanket, and like her stomach was open. And it was the middle of the night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was freaking out. I didn't want to have to rush to the emergency vet, and they had already had an appointment the next morning to have their dew claws removed. So my husband helped. We faceted a bandage, which is very difficult because they squirm on their stomach when they're that age. So anyway, we got through the night. I called the vet first thing in the morning and I said, I need to bring these puppies to you right now. I've got this emergency. And we took her there. And my niece was living very close to the vet at the time. So I went to her house with the mom, Hazel, while the puppies were there. They were all going to get their dew claws removed, and they were looking at the puppy that was hurt. And
I can like feel it.
I'm an empath, so I can't just be like, oh, well, just put it down. It's just not, I'm not able to do that. It's not viable. Just put it down. I felt like this puppy was going to live. So I was at my niece's house, and she's also into crystals, and she brought me a huge, like massive rose quartz heart. And she said, hold this, and, just hold this. And I was distraught and crying. And the vet called me as I'm holding this rose quartz, and they said, couple of options. We feel like it's the puppy's intestines is what was coming out, is what they were saying. And couple of options. We can put her down, or we can do surgery. We don't recommend the surgery because she's so small, and blah blah blah. And I said, holding this rose quartz, it came very clearly to me that I wanted to do the surgery. I know it was going to be expensive, and I knew a lot of what I was going into, but I said, I want to do the surgery. And they tried to talk me out of it. And I said, no, please just try the surgery. They got in, and it was actually her spleen. So they were able to, like, there was something growing on her spleen. So they were able to remove that, stitch her up, and she survived.
Oh, wow.
She was the first puppy to open her eyes. It was beautiful. She was just a very healthy puppy from then on. Very, very cool.
Yeah, like a fighter spirit.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to survive and I'm going to thrive.
But I could feel it, right? And the rose quartz helped me listen to my heart and not rather than my head. And yeah, that's my big experience with rose quartz. I've also used it for other, just heart chakra support.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just put, I have a little mushroom like this one, and I just put it on my altar as I was changing it out for the season. And I didn't really have a good reason to put it there before we knew we were going to talk about rose quartz. I just put that one out for the season. So, and then my mom just had a procedure done for her heart yesterday, which was a surprise. Like, they were like, oh, we can do this procedure today if you'd like. And she was like, okay, let's do it. So it's interesting, those things to just fall in line. But I do have a story about the heart rose quartz like this that I have. It's not heartwarming. It's actually really silly. But I went, before I was really into crystals and knew a lot about them, I was interested, but I didn't know a whole lot. So this was probably 8 years ago. I went into a little shop that was like a yoga shop, and they had some crystals in the front and jewelry and things like that. And I saw what I thought was a rose quartz heart just like this. And I was like, oh, a rose quartz heart. I need that. And I bought it. You're going to laugh because you're going to be like, you're so stupid, Courtney. It was not rose quartz. It was Himalayan salt, which is a little pink-ish. Yeah. So I wasn't that far off, but for someone like this.
Well.
I probably seemed like that's a rookie mistake. But it was hilarious to me because I didn't realize what it was. And I was like, oh, it's this, rose quartz heart. And I put it on my nightstand. And my twins, when they got older, I had realized what it was at some point. I was like, oh, this isn't rose quartz. Oh, well, it's cute. It's a heart, whatever.
Well, it still serves a purpose.
It serves its purpose. It has an energy. It cleanses the air and helps with sinus and things like that. So I had it next to our bed. But my twins, when they were like 2, they got into so much mischief. Twin boys, they just get into things.
Yeah.
I caught them licking it. Every time they went into my room, they'd like lick the rock and then leave. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys. So that's funny. My story about that heart.
I think it's cute.
So I may need to actually get a rose quartz heart at some point and get the one I wanted. But yeah, we have a couple of friends or people that have asked us if you're supporting somebody that has had breast cancer. Rose quartz was the one that came to my mind first. Was just being that it's a heart chakra, it's pink. Breast cancer, pink. Yeah. I don't. That's not nothing. Colors have a lot to do with it. But I love that you also suggested bloodstone for people that are going through something like that. And so I got something for a friend of ours because I believe she does have rose quartz, and I think that it's just great to have that extra healing support from the crystal.
Yeah. That's always what it is for me when I try to tell people is like, you can get a crystal. It's not going to fix your problems.
Right.
It's not going to heal your wounds, but it is going to support your healing journey. And that's where it is. Where's your intention, right? You're buying the crystal for you or for somebody else with the intention of supporting their healing journey. So I try to allow people to understand that as there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's not a perfect crystal that's going to do everything that you need it to do. So I will make suggestions and say, how does that make you feel? Right? How does that feel when you hold it? Does it feel good to you?
And if you can sit there, I mean, there are documentaries upon documentaries about the healing power of the mind and the body. And if you sat there with a crystal and then could visualize yourself healing every cell in the body, coming back into health, and you could sit and meditate on that with the crystal, there's no telling what could happen. Yeah. So while, you can't, no guarantees, but why not try it? Why not use what feels like the best form of support if you're going through something like that?
Brings you up into the higher vibrations. I think that's the big thing. So I think this turned into a very
we talked about everything today.
Conversation of
we had one thing in mind, and then we went here, we went there, but
really, when it comes down to it, how do you define success, and how do you achieve? It's kind of one of those things you don't really achieve success, right? It's more of like it can be. I got out of bed this morning. That was my first success of the day. I showered and got ready, and I was only 5 minutes late today. That was a success for me.
I know. And imagine if you just celebrated yourself throughout the day, no matter what was happening, what a different lifestyle you would have. Because then, no matter what happens, you're like, hey, I'm winning. I'm still in the plus side of things because I had my favorite breakfast this morning. So even if today I lose money or I get in a fight with someone, I'm still winning.
It's still okay.
Yeah. So redefine success for yourself and maybe do some inner child work back to your 9-year-old self and see what they would bring up if you needed that. And you can do that with me if you want at prism-healing.com. That is where I do one-on-one sessions with you if you would like to do that kind of processing work and figure out what is blocking you in that flow of success, because we'll bring up some things you might need to know. And then come visit Rising Moon Minerals.
Get your crystals to help your healing journey, to support that inner work that you're doing. risingmoonminerals.com. If you're not here in Utah, I do ship within the contiguous United States at the moment. I don't do international, but if you are international and you'd like it, please reach out. We'll work on it. It's just not directly available on the website. But
I had some listeners in Norway, Wales, Canada.
Yeah.
So hey to my listeners. And again, if you have any questions about any of these things that we've talked about, or you want to share something, if something really, you brought some things up for you about success, or you have your own stories, I would encourage you to go to our website, practically-magic.com. And there's a little tab on the side that says questions. I think it says questions for Courtney, but something like that. But anyway, you can click on the little thing and send us your questions. Send us your shout outs, because we would love to hear from you. And it helps us kind of feel encouraged, like, oh, people are listening. It feels nice. I love it when people come up to me and they're like, hey, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, yay. Oh my God. Makes us feel really good. But yeah. So Rising Moon Minerals, our top sponsor, and thank you to Sunshine Community for being our sponsor and spreading sunshine throughout our local community here. So we have that special highlight from Sarah with our Sunshine Sisters. And thank you to Ride the Wave Media for producing our podcast, and Just Blaine for being our producer and our hype man. And go check out his channel, Blaine's World. And we'll see you next week. We'll be right here. Go make magic, witches and wizards.